Lenten sacred text today is from the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 1 through chapter 2, verse 3. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness God called night. And there was evening and there was morning, the first day.
And God said, "Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." So God made the dome and separated the waters that were under the dome from the waters that were above the dome. And it was so. And God called the dome sky, and there was evening and there was morning.
Second day.
And God said, "Let the waters under the sky be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together God called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then they said, "Let the earth put forth vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees of every kind on earth that bear fruit with the seed in it." And it was so. The earth brought forth vegetation, plants yielding seed of every kind, and trees of every kind bearing fruit with the seed in it. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning, the third day.
And God said, "Let there be lights in the dome of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And let them be lights in the dome of the sky to give light upon the earth." And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. God set them in the dome of the sky to give light upon the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening and there was morning,
The fourth day.
And God said, "Let the waters bring forth swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the dome of the sky." So God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves of every kind with which the waters swarm, and every winged bird of every kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." And there was evening and there was morning.
And God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creatures of every kind, cattle, creeping things, and wild animals of the earth of every kind." And it was so. God made the wild animals of the earth of every kind, and the cattle of every kind, and everything that creeps on the ground and of every kind. And God saw that it was good.
Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, according to our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the wild animals of the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So God created humankind in his image. In the image of God, they created them. Male and female, God created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the air and over every living thing that moves upon the earth. God said, "See, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit, you shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. God saw everything that God had made, and indeed it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning.
The sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all their multitude. And on the seventh day, God finished the work that they had done. And God rested on the seventh day from all the work that they had done. So God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, because on it God rested from all the work that God had done in creation.
Thank you. For those of you that are still standing after that long reading, you can be seated. Thank you so much. From a very young age, my son, Connell, noticed the moon. One of his first words was the moon. We would be walking home from a friend's house, and it would be evening, and the sky would be turning pink and purple and gold. And we'd just be like kind of chatting along and holding him, and he would go, "Moon!" So many of his passions have come and gone. He loves fire trucks, and he loved to explore the recycling, and he learned all the names of all of the musical instruments and could identify them for us. They've all, waxed and waned. But the one thing that has remained steady is the moon. Is she full? Is the moon a half moon today? Has she come up yet? Where is she? Last fall, Brian and I went on our first trip away from Honnold for 3 nights. And at the Griffiths Observatory in LA, we found a stuffed moon. And we gave for Honnold. We brought it back for him. And that stuffy, it was actually here today, goes with him almost everywhere and stays close by him at night. And of course, its name is just Moon. Until Honnold's love for the moon, I had no idea that the electromagnetic pull of the moon was so powerful that we notice its pathway across the sky before we even have 10 words in our vocabulary. In our busy modern world, sometimes many nights can go by without my even kind of paying attention to it. But the moon, she remains constant, rising and falling, waxing and waning, pulling and pushing, calendaring our days and swaying our bodies. Even some of our Christian holidays are not set to the Gregorian calendar. They're set to the timing of the moon. There's something mystical and rhythmic about the moon. And I think that same quality is reflected in this Genesis text. There's something equally mystical and also rhythmic about this first chapter of this first book of the Bible, which is also the first chapter in the first book of the Torah, and is also considered a sacred text in the Muslim tradition as well. I mean, my goodness, when I read this first sentence, opening up our scriptures again, just, this past week, my jaw just like, it was like reading it for the first time. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep. while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. That wind reminds me of that wind spirit from Pentecost that Fumi spoke to so powerfully last week, sweeping across the formless void of space before anything that we knew existed as it exists now. And that wind which will also persist even after everything exists no longer, as we know it now, no longer exists. After the moon spirals out of orbit, all land-based life will die. Still, that wind will be there. It feels kind of comforting to know that somehow that creative life force could still persist even after the electromagnetic pull, those fields that keep our poles at the ends of the earth, even when they fall away, that wind spirit remains, ruach. The Hebrew word here translated as wind is the same word used in Hebrew also for spirit and for breath. This passage in Genesis reminds me also of Psalm 33, which says, by the word of Yahweh were the heavens made, their starry host by the breath of God's mouth. Let's take a deep breath in and imagine as you exhale a flurry of stars pouring out from our bodies into the world, populating everything with stardust. After all, God made us in God's image. Why can't we breathe stardust too? This is the stuff of God. This electromagnetic pull, the stardust, the moonbeams drawing our attention into the sky at dusk, even just noticing the shadows cast by the moon. It's in this awareness of creation that I most often feel the presence of God. And this creation myth, this is the stuff of God too. I'm going to read more of it to you again. I know you've already heard it one time. God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. God set them into the great dome of the sky to give light to the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the fourth day. Yeah. I love how when you read this story, it feels more not like it was meant to be literally understood, but more understood like a song, like a lullaby hummed into your ear by a loving adult when you were a baby. And that we can all hear its rhythmic pull when we say the chorus together. And there was evening, and there was morning. Let's go with day 5 now, the 5th day. This beautiful creation myth is an acknowledgement that we don't know exactly how the earth was really formed, how we humans came to be. But maybe all those piddly little details kind of don't even matter. That maybe we can't know with our minds, but we already do know something about it. We can feel it with our spirit, with our breath, which moves through and grounds our bodies, and we can feel that it is good. That perhaps even we are good. That however all this was made, that creator wind spirit of love sat back and said, yes, this is good. Here's the thing I think about faith, which is to say, here's the thing about groundedness, about knowing, about trust. The thing about faith is that it waxes and it wanes, like the moon. Our ability to stand with both feet in the certainty that this is good, that we are good, that we are lovable, we doubt it. We doubt our inherent goodness sometimes. I doubt it every damn day. But maybe the most important part about this creation story is that the truth it offers us is that we are good. God created the heavens and the earth, and it was good. God created the sun and the moon and the stars, and it was good. God created the plants and the forests and the dandelions and the aspen and the mitochondria and the mycelium, and it was good. God created the creatures and the creeping things and the fish and the birds, and it was good. God created humans, breathed life into their bodies, and it was good. God created you, and you are good. Good doesn't mean perfect. Good doesn't mean not making mistakes. Good doesn't mean not trying to be better. It doesn't mean easy. Good doesn't mean we have permission to grab power or abuse it. Good isn't a cop-out. But good is the inherent lovableness each of us have just because we are. You are good. And our faith is the ability to trust that all of this is true, that God made you good, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and all of us, all of this. What happens when this is really our starting place? When we can really move through the world solid in our faith that we are all good, that we're lovable, and that the purpose of our lives, of our faith, is to live as if this is true. And that knowing creates in us a wide expanse of wild love for everyone and for all of creation, just as we are. And when that faith wanes again, as we know it will, we can still trust that just like the moon, that wide, bright knowing that we are lovable and loved will come back again to visit our hearts soon. And that until then, we can rest in the delicate sliver of knowing that you were made good. Amen. So we in this community have a practice of one-to-ones where we process and make meaning together of these texts, and we respond to what's been offered. And so we'll take about 5 to 10 minutes, 7 minutes or so, to turn to someone near you, and we'll discuss kind of what has come up for you. And the question, perhaps, do you trust that you are good? How do you do that? A place to start, perhaps. Okay, we'll stop at 55 too. I'll call you all back. Thank you.